Hi everyone, welcome to today's lesson on calculating angles on parallel lines. Okay, this topic is actually going to be split up into two separate lessons. Okay, so this is the first lesson on calculating angles on parallel lines. Okay, so press pause, write the naughty words down, and then press play when you're ready to move on, please. Okay, so for angles on parallel lines, so I'm just going to start off with two rules first of all. Okay, so the first two rules that I'm going to do, um, you've got here giving you a diagram look, and the two horizontal lines going across, they're the parallel lines. Okay, and they're usually represented with these little arrows on them. Okay, and the reason they're parallel, in case some of us have forgotten from before, is because they will keep going. Those two lines will keep going and they'll never meet each other. They'll always be the same distance apart. Okay, so the first rule that we're going to look at today is called the corresponding angles. Okay, so corresponding angles are usually in this F shape here. Look, okay, so that F shape that I've drawn there, the angles that are corresponding to each other are those two. Okay, so those two angles correspond to each other, which means that they're equal. Okay, so um, I'd like you to press pause and write down the rule that corresponding angles are equal. Okay, and it'll make a bit more sense when I put some numbers into the actual diagrams in a minute when we do the examples. Okay, so that's an F shape. Okay, corresponding angles are F shapes. Now, it may not always look like that. Okay, that's a nice straightforward one, but what we could get is if I do it again, um, we could get an F shape or corresponding angles to look like this. Okay, excuse my drawing. Okay, a sort of a backwards one, and then those two would correspond to each other. Okay, um, we could also get this situation where we're looking at this part here. Look, so this F shape that I'm drawing now is upside down and back to front, but these two angles here are still the ones that correspond, so they're still equal. And the same thing can happen if I was to do it the other side as well. Look, so if I did that side and that side, then those two angles would correspond to each other as well. Okay, so we need to know that an F-shaped angle in parallel lines is a corresponding angle and they're equal to each other. Okay, the next one that I want to look at is an alternate angle. Okay, so for an alternate angle, it would look like this. Okay, and the angles that are alternate to each other are these two. Okay, so the rule is still the same in terms of the angles are equal. Okay, so what I want you to write down, the rule is the alternate angles are equal. Okay, and alternate angles are always a Z shape. And they're the only two we're going to focus on just for this first lesson. Okay, and I'll introduce some more in the next one. Okay, so again, it's not always going to be like a straightforward shape. Okay, you could also get a Z shape that looked more this way instead. Okay, so in that case, those two angles would be alternate to each other. Okay, so if we look at this center line, the alternate angles are always either side of this center line. Look, so one is here and then one is underneath here. Okay, so let's apply that to some actual questions then. So these are just some simple examples to go through first of all. All right, so press pause and draw these out and then press play when you're ready to go then, please. All right, welcome back then. So for this first question now, okay, you need to work out the size of the angles that are lettered. Okay, so in this case, it's the A here that's lettered. Okay, and we know now we've only learned the two rules. Okay, F shape and Z shape. So you just have to figure out which one of those two is going to include in this first one. It's going to include the 70 degrees that we already know, and it's going to include the A. Well, hopefully it's obvious to everyone that it has to be a Z shape there. Look. Okay, so that's your alternate angle. So because the rule for alternate angles is that they're equal. A must be 70. Okay, and where it says give reasons why, okay, your reason why as to that one, you could literally just put the words alternate in brackets after your answer. That's just showed that you've used the rule that alternate angles are equal. Okay. Right, for question B, we have to use the 125 because we're already given it. So we need to think of which shape is going to give us the 125 and also include the B. Well, hopefully it's obvious to see that it's going to be this sort of backwards F shape look. So that's corresponding. The rule is the equal, isn't it? So if the bottom is 125, then B must be 125 as well. And your reason as to why would be corresponding. Okay, so I'm not going to write that for each one because it should be obvious now. If you've used alternate angles, so if you've used a Z shape, then you write alternate as your reason why. And if you've used the F shape, you write corresponding as your reason why. Okay, and a good way to figure out which way around it is, all right, this first one had to be alternate because the two angles were either side of this center line here, look. And on this one, it's got to be corresponding because the two angles, if this is our center line, the two angles are on the same side. Okay, so question C then, hopefully you can see that's a sort of Z shape. So that's your alternate angles. That one is 160. All right, this one, they're both on the same side of the center line, look. So this is like an upside down F. Okay, so that one's 48. That's corresponding. This one, they're on either side of the center line, look. One angle's this side of the center, one angle's this side. So that's alternate. All right, 75. And then for this one, you've got sort of like an upside down or an F that's pointing downwards, but they're both the same side of the center line, look. So that one has to be 57, and that would be corresponding. Okay, so it's important that you're able to spot which one is which in terms of which one applies to the question, but they get a little bit more complicated than that. Okay, so for this next set of examples now, they're going to take a little bit longer. Okay, so press pause, copy these down, and then press play when you're ready to go through. Okay, so welcome back then. So on this first one, all right, the information I'm going to give you on this question is this I'm going to call angle B. Okay, this top one here I'm going to call angle A, and I'm going to tell you here that this angle is 60 degrees. Okay, so add that to your diagram, it would help. And then I'll do the workings out in a different color so it's clear. Okay, so obviously we have to use the 60 degrees, look, because that's the one that we know. Okay, and we've only done so far corresponding or alternate angles. Okay, so what I would always say for these types of questions is 9 times out of 10, the answers, the order that you need to answer them in is like alphabetically. So because this top one is labeled as A, then I would try and figure A out before I try to do B. Okay, so for A and the 60, hopefully you can spot that this is like an upside down F here, look. So that angle of A there and that angle of 60 there, okay, they're corresponding angles, okay? So that means A must be 60. So you write A equals 60 degrees and you write corresponding as your reason, okay? Now for B, I'll do it in a slightly different color. So when we do the rest of these questions then on this topic, it's not always just using the rules that we've just learned in this video. Okay, we should also use any other angles that we know. So if we have a look at these two angles here on this blue line, okay, A and B, well, that blue line is a straight line. So hopefully we can remember that in the past we've learned that angles on a straight line, so these two together here, look, angles on a straight line add up to 180. Yeah. So if angle A is 60, then angle B must be 180 minus 60. Okay, because those two angles together are on a straight line. Okay, so 180 take away 60 is 120. So B is 120. And a reason as to why, you could just put straight line in a bracket. Okay, so you've got to also think about other angle rules that we've learned in the past to help you answer these questions. Okay. Right, on to question B then. So for question B, okay, the information I'm going to give you this time is this angle here is 30. Okay, and then we need to work out these three angles here. Okay, so I'm going to call this one C, this one D, and this one E. And remember to try and do them in that order. Okay, so if we start off with angle C, okay, we have to use the 30. Hopefully you can note this, the angle C, okay, and the angle of 30, they're both opposite sides of this center line here, look, so that's your Z shape. So I would write C equals 30, and remember the Z shape rule, that's alternate angles, isn't it? So just write alternate there, okay? Now in a different color, now that we know the C is 30, we can have a think about this line here that C and D are both on. Okay, so C and D together here, look, that angle and that angle, they're both on a straight line together. Yeah, and we've already discussed them. We angles on a straight line add up to 180. So the angle for D must be 180 minus 30, which is 150. Okay, so we write D equals 150, and you can just write straight line as your reason why. Okay, and then I'll just do the last one now in a slightly different color so it's a bit easier to follow. So I'm going to draw this straight line going across now, look, this blue line. Okay, on that blue line, C and E are on a straight line next to each other. Okay, so I'm not going to do the workings because it's going to be the same as D, isn't it? If C and E add up to 180 and C is 30, then E must be 150 as well. Okay, and then your reason as to why would be straight line. Okay, so think about the F shape and the Z shape that we've learned in this video, but also think about other angle rules that you've learned. So it may be angles around a point, angles on a straight line, angles in a triangle, and so on. Okay, so ignore that. Okay, ignore that. All right, this is the task that I want you to do next. So I want you to press pause, okay, copy these down, have a go at them, and then press play when you're ready to go for the answers, okay? Okay, welcome back then. I'm just going to do a quick time check. Okay, right, so the answers to the main task are here. All right, so just have a look at the different angles that you should have figured out and yeah, just mark them. All right, for the checking question now, okay, it says calculate the missing angles, giving reasons for your answers. So the first one I'm going to do, look, is this sort of Z shape here. Excuse the drawing. Okay, that Z shape there, because that is 40, X must be 40 as well. Okay, so X is 40 and that's alternate angles. Okay, then what I'm also going to do is, if you have a look now at these three angles together along the bottom here, these three angles together are on a straight line. So X, Y, and 60 need to add up to 180. We've already worked out that X is 40 and this one's 60. So Y must be 180, take away 100. So Y equals 80. And that's because it's on a straight line. Okay, and now that we know that on the diagram, it's worth adding it in here. Look, now I just want you to have a look at the triangle. Okay, so if we just have a look at this green triangle now that I'm about to draw around, there's three angles in a triangle. Hopefully remember that angles in a triangle add up to 180. Right, we already know two angles, so all you need to do is 180 take away the two that we already know. Okay, so 180 take away 120 is 60. Okay, and the reason you can put in brackets is just triangle. Okay, so you need to remember the two rules in this video, along with angles in a triangle, angles on a straight line, and a few others as well. Okay, and look out for part 2 of this video as well, with a couple more angle rules on there to learn. Okay, thank you.